Okay guys, I'm back. So basically when you come back here, what you want to do is you're going to be here at the castle. It's worth it to go over there. There's sometimes some meat is dropped in the loading zone. But once you're back here at Queen Helen's castle, you want to come up and you're going to find monsters like lizardmen and foxfires. These guys are pretty good breeding chain starters, especially lizardman because, you know, he's a dragon. But they're not really necessary. I wouldn't consider them as important as Gupple at this point. But essentially what you want to do here is you want to come and pretty much walk up to this mountain right up here. And up here you're going to find a ton of stuff, mostly really important things. So right here there's a couple dead ends. Don't worry about going up there. Stubbird is also a very interesting monster to try and pick up. I do recommend it. Picking up Stubbird is important because he has a skill called Twin Hits, and it makes a lot of the future boss battles really, really easy. And I was lucky I got him on the first try. And what Twin Hits does, it essentially doubles your damage by doubling your attack. And this can be useful in two different ways. The first way, obviously, is that you're able to go and if you were fighting metal monsters for some odd reason, if you couldn't do damage before, you can now probably do damage. Twin Hits is great like that. The next thing is that Twin Hits also allows for just an absolute ton of damage on monsters that aren't. So, you know, imagine being able to do like 200 damage a turn or something like that. They're definitely worth picking up. And I'm gonna drop another rib here and see if I get lucky again. I only need one, but two might be worth it. Don't worry about not picking them up. It's okay to not pick them up because a couple other monsters get twin hits, and then you get to breed them around. And then you'll realize that monsters in the end might have twin hits, and it might make things a little bit easier, but it's not always necessary. So over here, you definitely want to come to this treasure chest because you get a magic key. Magic keys in this game are very, very important, and they are the 99% of the RNG in this game. Magic keys is what makes this game pretty much uncompletable. You know, un-100%able to say the least, because there are so many magic keys in the game. Now, this first magic key that you get here, this is the easiest one to get. This is also the first one I believe you can get. I'll go over them because they're essentially side levels, but we're gonna need to use them before we get to the next level of the game, because we're gonna be doing a lot of, I wouldn't say grinding, but we're gonna have to do a lot of breeding, and we definitely want more monsters than the monsters we can find in the regular levels. And since you want to find monsters that you want to find outside, okay, no more Fire Slash. He's gonna try and learn it every level. Ramming's an awful skill. Never get it. Slime Blow. Yeah, in case the magic key leads me to a world with a lot of slimes in it. Essentially, though, what it is that you have I believe there's somewhere close to 1,000 extra levels in the game, and they're completely RNG based. Which ones you get? You have absolutely no control over it. Yes, you can try and manipulate it, and there are some things that allow you to open up to other worlds, but not every world. It's interesting, to say the least. I'll be going over that when we get to it. But what I was going to say is that what you need to do is essentially come in, and you need to do this just so that you have everything. And magic keys what they do is they lead to a bunch of different worlds, and every world is different. And it's the main point of this game because they lead to a ton of different worlds. What happens is that you get an interesting set of monsters in each one. I don't know if I'm going to cover it in this video. I might actually be using it, but I doubt it. So I'm just going to heal up real quick before this mini boss here, and then we're going to go And we're going to finish off the third part of ice right here. And then I'm going to continue on from there. So we were told to go pick up the sleep herb and then return here to the castle. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Talk to her, and even if you didn't talk to the lady, as long as you have the sleep herb, she'll say, oh, you have the medicine, okay, let's go cure the queen. What you want to do here is you want to use the sleep herb, and all of a sudden a monster will appear. And you will be fighting a goat horn. Now this guy is not too hard. I recommend using ice skills. Lush Licks is always recommended if you have it. If you don't worry about it. It's nothing, you know. It's nothing really important. Obviously Snowstorm is going to do nothing compared to Ice Storm. But Lush Licks will prevent him from doing a move at least. Right now Anvar is pretty much my healer. I don't really have any use for it because these guys are pretty much getting stunned to death due to Lush Licks, and it's really nice because it really helps move this along until you really start using the magic keys in this game. After that, this skill doesn't actually work anymore pretty much in the next level. And at the end of this level for the final boss, it's not going to do any good either, simply because there's just too many of the final boss, to say the least. You're just not gonna have enough, and it's not gonna do any good. I'm taking damage relatively well here. 10 damage is nothing to take against these guys. What the problem is when you cast Boom, you can get it to the I've had it to the point where he casts Boom every turn, and yeah, I understand it's not too damaging at this point, and I'm probably fine, but it does happen. So he then says that you killed off the others. He realizes it. And essentially what happens is that you go in, and that now that she knows that you freed every other kingdom, you can now finally go to the final boss of the game. Well, of this level, not the game. Obviously, if this was the game, this would be a pretty short game. But we're going to go to the next level after this boss here. And there's going to be some stuff to do here that we're going to have to move on from this point in the game. So it's okay to just kind of not worry about it. Fastest way to do it is obviously to surf back. It just is. Now, obviously, once you do this, all this ice will disappear. That's the whole point of this ice world, is that the ice finally melts and that winter will finally stop being over and it'll finally become spring. I picked up some bad meat. That might be really helpful later on. Though it's not really too useful. The only thing you can really do with bad meat is try and poison a boss monster, but it's not, since boss monsters don't set meat with. Unless you run into, like, you know, impossibly hard enemies and you just want to, like, grind up and you want to poison them. They all got poisoned. Very nice. They all hate me, so none of them are going to join my team, but hey. It's just like an interesting little side note, so I might as well just use it. Anyways, moving along here. I'm just going to run up here really quickly. Ooh, an exit bell. Those are useful later. They're not useful now, but they're going to be very useful later, and you're probably going to carry a lot of them once we start going into other worlds. So what you want to do right now is you want to head back up to the lake where you got the original crest. And you want to talk to the spirit. But what happens instead is this guy comes back. And all of a sudden, the goat horn comes back, and so do these other guys that were here before. And it's much better. It's really important to just try and stall off on the goat horn doing anything. So I'm just gonna cast Ice Storm here. I'm gonna try and stun the goat horn with Lush Licks, the middle guy. The Archdemons, nothing. They're not nearly as strong as Goathorn. But they do cast Boom. They all three of them cast Boom, and it can get really, really damaging really quickly. And I'm gonna have to heal Hyde up because he's my main damage dealer. Luckily, he didn't cast Boom. I'm gonna try and stall him again so I can heal up Pika and then eventually Anvar, because Anvar is my healer right now. I accidentally pressed fight instead, but hey, we managed to get through it. You're gonna get a ton of experience for doing this boss battle. Ice Storm is always recommended. Same thing if you have the other fire spells. Same thing, just start spamming them. Use the plan command, and start using your skills. So essentially what you want to do here is now you have to use the crest, and it gets sent back into the spring, and now that all the evil has been lifted, all the ice starts melting, and now she comes back, and she gives you the Sky Shield. And once again, Warabu is going to use massive magic to bring you back from another world, which is amazing. And you throw in the Sky Shield. It's no good. And now he has to plug the navel again, and now you have to reach out your hand, and now you can fly across the sky. Hey, and now what you will need now is obviously, well, the Sky Key. Yay. Just like following all the other patterns, but now there's a difference on the islands. As you can see, a lot of stuff is sinking. The trees are actually losing a lot of their standing, and a lot of the island is here in water. There's not much that can be done about this, but it does happen. Anyways, you move on here. You talk to this guy, and he calls you still a liar. And then there's this guy here, and he says, "Thanks for helping the army ant set up shop." And now you have access to ribs. This is really nice, but it's also really kind of annoying because, well, you know, you could have used this last level, and you can't now. But whatever. I don't need this many exit bells right off the bat. I gotta put the tiny metals in storage. However, what is important that has come out is you see this little thing above this vault here. I'm gonna just take out all these tiny metals now. And what's important about this right here is that you can kind of come up right here, and he has a Metally. He's the Metal Master. He collects tiny metals. And he has 6 of them. You should have at least 6 by this time if you've been following me, doing what I've been doing. And you really don't want to spend any of them. I know it sounds tempting, but do not spend any of them. Just trust me on this, you don't want to do it. And you want the Sky Key. So if you come up here, Prince Kamea has been missing from the castle for a long time. The king thought it would be another Princess Silly Pranks first, but now he's worried. And have you seen Prince Kamea? You want to say yes. And he brings you to the castle. Sire, this kind of, Prince Kamea's whereabouts. Where has he gone to? What? Another world? So the rumors are true. He gives you the Sky Key. Okay, that's great. And so, apparently they make duplicates of keys at the castle. And this was one of them. And it was the Sky Key. So, since Prince Kamea took the Sky Key, that happens. And now when you come in here, though, I'm a traveling merchant. I'm also a monster maester as a hobby. And I want to breed something with my Spiky Boy. So, if you come in here and try and breed something with a Spiky Boy, you're gonna get something out of it. Now, what I want to do is, because I really don't care about the Spiky Boy, I'm gonna breed it with a female Substuck. I really don't care. Whenever this happens and it's a guest monster, what's going to happen is that your monster's going to take precedence. And by that, what I mean is that your monster is going to take, the monster that you get is going to be the grass monster. Let's see, because I used a grass monster, I'm going to get a grass monster back. If I had used a flying monster, I would have gotten a flying monster back, etc., etc. What you want to do here is you want to come in here, You're going to pull Tiny Meadow up. And now what we did with this magic key is he identifies keys. And if you don't identify a key, you can't use it. So we're going to go in here and look at this magic key. You always have to say yes and save the results. And we got blue magma. So this is actually really useful. There are a ton of different combinations, ranging from colors to other words. They are obviously red, white, blue, green, yellow, black. And then you have secret, final, last, and last, I think, are all the sub ones. I think there might be another two. And mystery. I've gotten one mystery key. And then there are things that follow it, like magma, grave, thing, slime, all the regular boss battle, all the regular monster things, so like dragon, water, etc. Misty is another one of the preverb ones. You get like Misty Shore or Misty Grave. They're really interesting names, a lot of combinations. The best thing in the game to get is Last Boss. It's the hardest key to get, obviously for lots of reasons, but it happens and it does exist. I've gotten it once. So essentially, after Pirate, you can breed with this guy who has a wild ape. And when you want to breed something with a wild ape, you kind of get some interesting results. I'm going to go here. Oh, God, what should I breed it? What do I get if I breed the bullbird? I'm going to get another bullbird. I don't want that. So I'm going to just press B. And not do that. What about if I breed you with a Gizmo? Actually, no, I don't want to breed it with Gizmo. I know what Gizmo does. What if I breed you with One-Eye Clown? Gremlin plus 4 is what I'll get. Sure, I'll do it. I don't care. You can essentially get any monster. Really, these guys just kind of help push things along. There's one or two of them that are really nice to get, and it cuts out a lot of breed chaining in the beginning of the game. We get really unlucky with this first magic key. I think Magma's a good one, so I don't think we're going to be that unlucky. But I have gotten unlucky in the past where I got like a key that did just all bugs. I was like, well, that's awful, because bugs aren't really useful until the end of the breeding chain. And since it's the first keys also determine the quality of the monster. The more you have to pay for the key, the better the level is, including their levels and their and the monsters that are in there and how rare the monsters are. So so for example, a key that costs 940G is always going to be better than a key that costs 100G in terms of what's in the level. Now, the groups of monsters are always different, but they will always yield limitations of what those monsters can be inside the world. So, if I get something that's called Misty Thing, I'm only going to get material monsters usually inside the world. I'm not going to get any other types of monsters. And I'm probably going to get quite a bit of them. There's usually at least 4 or 5 different monsters in there. And this can be good, it can be bad. So, let's say I only get, like jewel bags in there, and then I get a couple of other really weak monsters. Well, that's going to happen. Might as well go in here and I might as well explain them. So all of your extra keys in your key inventory are not going to be after Great Log. These are story main keys that you can't toss. Blue Magma, however, comes before the Great Log key, and you can toss this key, so don't do that. By the way, don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. And when you use it, this music will always generally play. This is the general world music. It's what it is. They don't have a peculiar tune. Every one of these worlds will have this same music. And this one here has slimes in it. Not a good start. And as you can tell, this spot slime is much stronger than the ones in Oasis. That's because these monsters here are higher level. Ah, perfect. Already can talk about this. So, when you come to a new world, you cannot get any monsters, so don't waste your meat on monsters when you enter a world right away. You have to beat the boss. The boss of each continent or the world before monsters can join you. I know this sounds weird, but trust me, it's what you need to do. there are a few things about these worlds that you need to know. The first thing is the bosses are much stronger than the regular monsters in the world, but you should have no problem with it because the mini bosses will always be singular, and you'll always know which monster it is. And whenever you beat a monster on the continent, you can now recruit monsters on that continent, but not from all over the world. This leads me to the next thing. The reasoning for this is because monsters on one continent are usually different than monsters on another continent. I know it sounds weird, but just trust me on this. That's how it works. So this area here is obviously a I guess I'll go with Snowstorm. Is obviously a slime and a material world. And now I can recruit monsters from this continent. Yes, I know it sounds kind of weird, but that's a good thing. So if you see a monster that you really want, or you need a breeding group in particular, this is really, really nice. Unfortunately, I'm already taking way too much damage. So I might just come in here after doing some breeding again and grinding up here. Now, your key will be different than mine. I can almost guarantee it. If you somehow get the same key, send me a message because that's amazing. But I've never had this stage. And inside every one of these stages, there are usually 3 or 4 dungeons. The first of 2 is going to be a cave. And this is why I said exit bells are kind of important at this point, because you need to escape from these dungeons. And each one of these dungeons also has sometimes different monsters. So for example here, we didn't see any snailies outside, but we found them in here. Same thing with the spiky boys. I don't really want to slab it, so we're going to fight the slabbits real quick. But what is important here is that now, when it comes to these levels, and these dungeons in particular, I've had dungeons go up to 10 floors. So inside a cave, you are looking for stairs that go downstairs. You want to go down the stairs. In towers, you want to be going up the stairs. First-time beginners usually don't realize this, and they tend to end up looping in areas, and that's the last thing we want. So you don't want to do that. I don't mind picking up a spot slime right here, because he gets sick licks and lush licks. That's just a skill that all slimes learn. That spot slimes learn. I know, it's interesting. But it is a skill that they learn. Now, as you can see, the the material monsters are not affected by ice attacks at all. So just keep that in mind. Oh, and he still gets up, so we're gonna take him. I'm running out of females, so I'm gonna start breeding females pretty soon. But essentially, you can go up to 10 floors. Usually they end at around. My average is around 4.5, so probably around 4 or 5 is usually the amount of floors. Be prepared to look around in. And these are also dependent on what level key you bought. So, you know, like one of the really stronger keys will tend to have really, really big dungeon floors. When I mean big dungeon floors, I mean you can get lost on a floor for like an hour before you find the next stairs. Usually in the beginning they're not too bad, and I'm gonna try and cut these out. After this first one, I really don't think it's very necessary. So here, there's a lot of dead ends in these things, and I just kind of want to find one of the rooms here. Ooh, this is not good. It led off to 4 different directions. Hopefully they loot. But if you're very good with a sense of direction, and you are alright dealing with things like, not having a map, because there's no map in these games. These games are this is kind of an older game. You know, don't count on maps too much is my recommendation. Be prepared to, you know, really, you know, kind of lose track of where you are is the worst thing you can do. Okay, so this one seems to loop. Yeah, this one loops completely. So I don't have to worry about that. Now the only place I have to go is up here. And it goes up here. So once again, you gotta also predict if these rooms will try and connect or not. There have been times where they have, and there's a lot of times where they haven't. So technically you can't cut any route out. Just, you know, try your best to not get caught in that thing where you don't know where you are and you just end up walking in circles forever. I'm gonna use the heal all skill in the menu here because I've taken a lot of damage. I don't want to use that during the fights. I don't want to die. And this is why emulator is really good. Okay, this just loops around, so no point in going down that direction anymore. But this is also why I also recommend playing this game on emulator. These dungeons within themselves are really important because they give you have a couple options. The first option is this. Inside dungeons, every now and then a chest will spawn. If a chest spawns, you have a couple choices that can be inside it. They are usually always really, really rare items or really, really powerful items. The first one being World Leaves and World Dews. The next one is usually either a sirloin or something called a meat orb. And what a meat orb does is it pretty much guarantees you a monster. And if you were to use it, it's like a rib. It's like your other meats, but when you use it, you pretty much get a monster. In that regard, it is really, really powerful. However, they need tiny metals to be gotten. So now what you're thinking is, well, you told me to save my tiny metals. Yes, do not waste your time on meat orbs with tiny metals. You will not need them until the very end of the game, and this is if you are going for 100% completion. So that was the first chest, and like I said, I got a world deal and the entrance to the next level. Alright. Luckily, there's only one downstairs on each floor, so don't worry about if you find one step if there's another one. There's only one. But like I was saying, I got world duel, but also the more important thing that appears in those chests are tiny metals. Tiny metals are super duper important. And so you want to get as many tiny metals as possible, and this is where you start supplementing them. Every now and then you will get one or two, but after this I'm gonna have to, because I'm approaching a really long time on this video already, because we finished up Ice World and we're doing extra stuff. But what's going on here is that when you get to the end of the dungeon, there's going to be one chest, and inside that chest there are a couple things that could be inside it. The first thing, please don't let this be a dead end. I will be so upset if this is a dead end. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, but when you enter the final room, you're gonna hear this music, and there's a few things that can be inside this chest. The first thing is equipment and rings that promote things. The next thing that can be inside these areas here are equipments like capes. Capes defend against magic and other spells. So your monster might become immune to whatever it is. I think like the Orca Cape raises resistance to water skills. There's one called the Platinum Cape that presents death, poison, and etc. That's an amazing item to get. You pretty much use that as your items at the end of the game to equip to your monsters, because there's no weapons in this game, unlike the future Dragon Warrior Joker series. Now, I'm going to end the video here, but something to note is that you can save inside the mini boss rooms and the boss rooms in these worlds. So, hey, make sure to do it, and I'll catch you next time. And I'm going to finish up this level, alright? And then I'm going to go and probably do a couple other dungeons, if there's any here. Alright, until next time.